A tiny puppy stood in the middle of a busy road. Cars honked. Drivers swerved. People walked past without a second glance. But this puppy wasn't lost. It wasn't confusing. It was waiting. And when Officer Daniel finally stopped his patrol car, he had no idea that this small, trembling animal was about to lead him to something that would change his life forever. He tried to walk away 3 times. 3 times, the puppy refused to let him. And when Daniel finally followed it, what he discovered hidden just beyond that quiet, isolated path, brought a seasoned police officer, a man trained to handle anything, to his knees in tears. This is that story. Stay until the end, because the moment that little dog looks up at Daniel outside that hospital room, I promise you, you won't be able to hold it together. It was a routine morning shift. Nothing unusual. Officer Daniel had seen thousands of mornings like this one, quiet streets, a few early commuters, the city barely waking up. He stepped out of his patrol car, adjusted his uniform, and began his usual walk. Steady. Focused. Professional. That's when he heard it. A soft sound. Quick, tiny footsteps behind him. He turned, nothing. He shook his head. Kept walking. Then again. Closer this time. Daniel turned sharply, and there it was. A small puppy. Dark brown and black fur, slightly dirty, barely bigger than his boot. Wide eyes locked directly onto him. Not scared. Not wagging its tail. Just watching. Where did you come from? Daniel muttered. He reached out a hand. The puppy didn't come closer. Didn't run either. It simply stood there, staring, like it was waiting for him to understand something he hadn't figured out yet. Daniel straightened up. All right, buddy. Go home. He turned and walked. The puppy followed. He walked faster. The puppy kept up. He stopped and turned around. The puppy stopped too, eyes still locked on him, unblinking, completely focused. Daniel had dealt with strays before. This wasn't how strays acted. They either ran away or begged for food. This one? It wasn't interested in either. It was interested in him. He pulled a small piece of protein bar from his pocket, placed it on the ground between them. There you go. Eat that and go on. The puppy looked at the food. Then looked back up at Daniel. Didn't touch it. That's when something shifted inside him, because no hungry stray ignores food. And this one wasn't just any stray. Daniel tried to walk away. Again. And again. Each time, the puppy followed, closer than before, more urgent, like time was running out on something Daniel didn't yet understand. Then the puppy did something unexpected. It ran ahead of him. Fast, startlingly fast for something so small. It ran a few feet forward, then stopped. Turned around. Waited. Daniel frowned. Took a step forward. The puppy ran ahead again. Stopped. Turned. Waited. Again. Again. A pattern. Clear. Deliberate. There was no confusion in those tiny eyes, only purpose. You serious right now? Daniel whispered. He looked in the direction the puppy kept running toward. A quieter stretch of road. More isolated. Not somewhere people usually went without a reason. Years of police training told him, don't follow blindly. But years of experience also told him, trust what doesn't make sense when it's this consistent. He tried to walk away one last time, and that's when the puppy let out a sound that stopped him cold. Not a bark. Not a whine. A broken, desperate cry. The kind that didn't sound like an animal begging for food. It sounded like an animal terrified of something, and terrified of being ignored. The puppy ran back to him, circled his feet frantically, then turned and ran ahead again. This time it stopped closer, as if to say, please. Hurry. There's no more time. Daniel looked down at the tiny, trembling animal. He looked ahead at the empty, silent path. And for the first time since this started, he didn't feel like he could walk away anymore. "All right," he said quietly. The puppy turned and ran. They moved together now. One leading, one following. The sounds of the city faded behind them, replaced by a silence that felt wrong, too still, too heavy. Daniel's senses sharpened. His posture changed. This wasn't a curiosity anymore. This was a situation. The puppy slowed as the path narrowed, leading him between old fences and overgrown bushes. The pavement was cracked, forgotten. Nobody came here without a reason. Daniel's hand hovered near his radio. Then he saw it. The ground, disturbed. Not by weather. Not by an animal. The marks were uneven, chaotic. Like something had been dragged. His jaw tightened. He crouched down, studying the marks carefully. Then he saw something caught on a broken fence post, a piece of torn fabric. Recent. Clean edges from a sharp break. This wasn't debris. This was evidence. The puppy suddenly went still. It wasn't running anymore. It stood rigid, ears flattened, body low to the ground, staring at one specific point just around the bend in the path. Daniel's pulse quickened. He reached for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Daniel. I've got a possible situation. Checking it out now." "Copy. Do you need backup?" Daniel didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed fixed on the spot the puppy was staring at. "Stand by," he said. "I'll confirm shortly." He moved forward. Step by step. Careful. Quiet. Every leaf that crunched under his boot felt too loud. The puppy let out one sharp bark. Daniel rounded the bend. And his entire body went still. There, partially hidden behind broken branches and scattered debris. A young woman. Lying motionless on the ground. Daniel didn't hesitate. He rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" She was pale. Her clothes torn. Dirt smeared across her arms and face. Her breathing, shallow. Barely there. But she was alive. Daniel checked her pulse. Weak. Fading. Behind him, the puppy had run straight to her. It circled once, then pressed its tiny body against her side, whining softly now. Not frantic. Not desperate anymore. Relieved. Daniel watched the puppy nuzzle against her, and the realization hit him like a weight. "You know her," he whispered. He grabbed his radio immediately. "Dispatch, Officer Daniel. I've located an injured civilian, female, conscious but weak. Possible trauma. I need medical assistance now." "Copy. Units and paramedics on the way." He turned back to her. "Hey. Stay with me. Help is coming." Her eyes fluttered. Barely open. Confused. "Don't leave," she whispered. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. The puppy licked her hand gently. Her fingers twitched in response. And in that small, fragile moment, Daniel understood everything. This tiny animal had been out here alone, searching, running through streets, refusing to give up on a stranger, all to save the one person it loved most. He looked at the puppy. Something shifted in his chest he hadn't expected. Because this wasn't just impressive. This was beyond anything he had words for. The sirens grew louder. Closer. Daniel kept his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady. "You hear that? That's for you." The paramedics arrived fast, moving with precision. "What do we have?" "Injured female. Weak pulse. Semi-conscious. Possible internal trauma." Daniel stepped back just enough to give them room, but not far. As they worked, he watched the puppy. It hadn't moved. Not when strangers surrounded her. Not when the noise and urgency intensified. It stayed pressed against her side, small body trembling, eyes locked on her face. Waiting. Guarding. Refusing to leave. One of the paramedics glanced at it. "That dog led you here?" Daniel nodded slowly. "It didn't give up." The paramedic shook his head. "That's incredible." But incredible wasn't the word Daniel was thinking of. When they finally lifted her onto the stretcher, the puppy moved alongside them, every step, refusing to fall behind. And when they reached the ambulance, it hesitated at the open doors. Looked up at Daniel. Confused. Unsure. "It's okay," Daniel said gently. "Go on." Without another second of hesitation, the puppy jumped inside. One of the paramedics exchanged a look with his partner. Then nodded. "Let it stay. It's not going anywhere anyway." The ambulance doors slammed shut. The sirens screamed to life. And Daniel stood there watching it disappear, his hands on his hips, the weight of the last hour settling onto his shoulders like something he hadn't carried before. What if I had walked away? The thought hit him like a punch. What if I had ignored it like I almost did? He already knew the answer. She wouldn't have been found. Not in time. Not in this place. He pushed the thought aside. But it didn't go far. Hours passed. Daniel sat outside the hospital, elbows on his knees, the weight of the afternoon pressing down on him. Time didn't feel normal. Every minute stretched longer than it should. Beside him, for the first time since everything started, the puppy lay curled on the ground. Still. Its eyes half open, refusing to fully rest, as if relaxing completely wasn't allowed until it knew she was okay. Daniel glanced down at it. Still holding on, huh? The puppy's ear twitched. Always listening. Then, the doors opened. The puppy stood immediately, alert. Daniel followed a half-second later. A doctor stepped out, scanning the area. When he saw Daniel, he walked toward them. Daniel's chest tightened. "How is she?" The doctor paused. That pause lasted too long. Then, a small smile. "She's stable." Daniel exhaled. Everything released at once. "Both of them," the doctor added. Daniel blinked. "Both?" "Yes," the doctor said quietly. "She's going to recover." Daniel closed his eyes for just a moment. Thank God. Beside him, the puppy's tail gave a small, cautious wag, as if it felt the shift in the air before it understood the words. Daniel looked down at it and something cracked open in his chest, quietly, without warning. "You hear that?" he said softly. "She made it." A nurse met Daniel outside the room. "She's been asking about him," she said gently. "The dog?" Daniel asked. The nurse nodded. "She said his name is Milo. She lives alone. He's all she has. They're very close." Daniel looked through the glass. Milo was already curled beside her on the bed, pressed against the blanket, his small body finally still. Milo. She remembers him running off, the nurse continued. At first she thought he got scared and ran away. Daniel's eyes stayed on the puppy. But he didn't run away. "No," the nurse said softly. "He went to find help." Silence. Daniel looked through the glass for a long moment. Milo lifted his head slightly, and their eyes met. Just for a second. But it was enough. Daniel let out a slow breath, his jaw tightening against something rising in his throat. All that time. That entire time, he was out there alone, trying to save her. Later, Daniel stepped into the room. She was awake. Weak, but conscious. Her eyes moved to him as he entered, and despite everything, a small smile formed on her face. You came back, she said softly. Had to make sure you were all right, he replied. Milo stirred at the sound of Daniel's voice. Sat up. Recognized him. Then pressed closer to her again, still protecting, still staying close. Daniel crouched down to his level. Hey, partner. Milo tilted his head slightly. Then she said the thing that broke Daniel completely. Thank you, she whispered. For what? I almost did, he admitted quietly. She looked at him. But you didn't. Daniel reached out slowly and placed his hand on Milo's head. The puppy didn't flinch. Didn't move. Just stayed there, accepting it. Calm. Trusting. And that's when it all hit Daniel at once. How close it had been. How one small choice had changed everything. He felt his composure crack, quietly, just slightly, but enough. Because sometimes even the strongest people break a little. Especially when they realize that the real hero of the story, the one who never gave up, who ran through streets alone, who refused to be ignored, was a tiny puppy named Milo. Who just wanted to bring his person home. Milo didn't know what a hero was. He didn't know what courage meant. He didn't understand the odds he was fighting against, that most people would have ignored him, that most officers would have kept walking. He just knew one thing. She needed help. And he wasn't going to stop until he found it. That kind of loyalty doesn't have a name. It doesn't fit in a word. It's something you feel, in the chest, in the quiet moments, in the spaces where language runs out. If you've ever loved an animal, or been loved by one, you already understand. And if this story moved you, share it. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to be reminded that love this pure still exists. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your country in the comments below. I want to see how far Milo's story travels.